Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever, whenever that you may be tuning in. This is Yonks, and this is another one of our live streams here where we're pre-launching DUNADAO.org, and we've got a very special agenda here today. We're actually going to be leaning into Base Onchain Summer. So there's literally like 4.5 days or so to get our team submitted. And this is the first conversation around the On-Chain Summer Build-a-thon. So taking a look at our agenda, and before I go through the agenda here real quick, just gonna do a real quick who's on the call. Tyler, my superpower, thank you for all that you do. We also have Nick and Jorge from Lit Cloud Canada. So good afternoon, everybody. Glad that you all are here. I'm going to just hop right in because we've got a lot to discuss. And this Google Doc here is something that should be linked on wherever that you're watching this, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn. And this is, again, the agenda that we've been updating throughout our pre-launch conversations as we are working towards DUNADAO, the DUNA Act, going into effect in Wyoming on July 1st, which is right around the corner here. So anyway, here's our pre-launch conversation number 5. And scrolling down here, there's also some reference and going down to our agenda. And real quick, one of the things that I want to talk about is the goals. I've only got two items here on the goals, and there's probably a lot of meat behind these 2 items, but basically we're wanting to create a account abstracted onboarding experience for DUNADAO. And what do I mean by that? Like, it really alleviates going through the process for a new user, writing down your 12 or 24 word seed phrase and abstracts that away. And DUNADAO is a part of a larger DAO ecosystem, and I'm not going to unpack all of that, but the other opportunity that we've got is to implement similar framework for Gigs Go Green. And phase 1, we're looking to launch Tesla Black, another DAO where we're looking to onboard gig workers, primarily Uber and Lyft drivers, into members of Tesla Black DAO. And then the other aspect is documenting the user journey using mermaid.js. And Mermaid is a markdown code that prevents nice visual diagrams. So one of the other things too here is I'm a firm believer of setting expectations. And this is some of my experience participating in various hackathons and build-a-thons. And I think that this is pretty fair. And we can have some side conversations on what this can look like. But basically, doing a 50-50 split. And this is the first conversation specifically around the build-a-thon. And then one of the other expectations that I would have is I'd really like to see people participate in coordinated working groups. And I've got a Let Us Meet here for the upcoming, our second working group. I'm categorizing this, even though this is our pre-launch conversation, this is functionally going to be mostly working group number 1 for our participation for DUNADAO.org and gigsgogreen.org for the build-a-thon. So does anybody want to chime in some thoughts before we get into the meat of the agenda on the goals and the expectations? See a thumbs up from Jorge and nobody else opening their mics. So, all right. So just looking at our agenda here, we've already gone past this, initiated the live stream, obviously. So looking here, and I'm going to do a timestamp queue. So, and I'm going to go real quick here to the main page of base.org/onchain summer. And then I already opened up the join the build-a-thon tab. So this is actually built on devfolio.co, and going to the overview. So part of the reason for doing this upcoming working group number 2 is so that we can make sure that we've got our team all formalized and finalized when the application closes here on Monday night, Tuesday morning, depending on where your time zone falls. And that's why we've got the availability for this on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So I'll be sure that I add my availability to this Let Us Meet myself here after our live stream concludes. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and open up the hot wallet or the browser window for DUNADAO, DUNADAO.eth, so that we can get registered, the team registered. And let's see, and I'll just throw this link in here. I might need to sign in here real quick. So I do, and I'm actually using Coinbase. This is, I've been primarily using MetaMask, but I've been, as we continue to lean into Coinbase, especially Coinbase Wallet, been using Coinbase Wallet here for DUNADAO.eth, which is the hot wallet that used for managing this project. Unlock. So let me go ahead and click register, continue with Ethereum. So this will be the foray of me registering. I have not registered personally or with a project with DevFolio. So connect wallet, Coinbase wallet. Connect. Verify address, sign. So I'll put in the DUNADAO Proton here. DAO. DUNADAO. Let's just do DUNADAO. Let me make sure that I save this password that I just generated here. So it's DevFolio, CO. All right, and I'll open up another window here. Want some magic code. All right, so here's the DUNADAO on-chain summer application filled. You can submit your application once you have filled it to 100%. So I don't know if I'm going to go through this right now, and I'm not going to go through this process for Gigs Go Green. So this is something that we have to do independently as well, and I'll make sure I'm going to go through this process with Yonks.eth between now, and I would encourage everybody else to do that too. And if you need any help or anything like that, hit me up on the DM. So going to go ahead and check this box here. It looks like that's a longer process that I don't want to do, and I'm going to skip this for that as well. So this is where I've got most of the time allocated for having a conversation around the build-a-thon. So going over here to back to the build-a-thon, one of the things there's quite a bit of details on this, and I would encourage everybody to read that. But the big thing that we need is to get our application in, and then also like there's quite a bit of FAQs and stuff, and I've already spent a good amount of time looking through this before I had the conversation. So one of the things I do want to touch in is, what are you looking for in submissions? We're looking for submissions that make it very easy to get on chain and abstract as much of the on-chain complexity as possible, which is basically what we were talking about with the account abstraction. And one of the things that we'll be doing is basically setting up, like right now, if you go to DUNADAO.org, it gets redirected to a link tree page. And I mean, I think it's fairly easy right now to onboard, but one of the barriers of entry right now with onboarding into DUNADAO is that you already have to have you have to have a wallet, first of all, which is, what a lot of people don't have. But then you also need to have some crypto in your wallet. So one of the things that we're going to be doing with this, one of the goals here, like I've got that, is payments with Stripe, where somebody can pay with a credit card. A lot of people don't have crypto in a Web3 wallet. So the opportunity of onboarding new users with a credit card is one of the goals here. So anyway, let's take a look at the prizes. So going over here to the prizes. So payments with Stripe is one of the categories. That's kind of, to me, a no-brainer. Stripe is really one of the big online payment processor, and we've used the Stripe in various projects for doing a e-commerce website. And then the other thing too that I think is aligned is commerce with Shopify. Now, while we're not necessarily looking at using Shopify, WooCommerce is basically an open source alternative to Shopify. And as you can see here, there is no requirement to directly integrate the track sponsor. So the only requirement is that all projects are built on Base, and that's one of the things that we made a decision earlier in the year within our DAO ecosystem to lean into Base. So we can check both of those boxes. And I would encourage people to take a look at some of these other things. I've kind of looked at them, and these are the two that make the most sense to me. And I'm going to go ahead and just add these as some sub-bullet points here as tracks, track, Stripe, track. What was the other one? Shopify. And whether we do one or the other with DUNADAO or Gigs Go Green, I don't know if it necessarily matters, but I'm going to just put on here right now, DUNADAO, Gigs Go. So this is one of the things that the other opportunity here is, going back to the overview, there's a community track, and I can't remember if that's on the main page or if it's on the other one. Let's see. Might be over here. So community track hosted by Bountycaster. So let me open this, and this is something that I would encourage everybody to kind of go through and look at. This is something that I was taking some time here this morning in anticipation of having this conversation where I shortlisted some of these. It's quite a long list here, and I'm not going to unpack what Bountycaster is, but I mean, there's a good list of these, and I would encourage everybody to take a look because there's something that may be of interest and aligned. But here's a short list that I made here earlier. So one of which is, let me open up this in another tab. So make this a little bigger here for everybody. So top 3 most creative use cases building on Base using Sign protocol. So this is something that Tyler and I have had a little bit of experience with ETH Sign. And basically, like, I'm sure most people are familiar with DocuSign. ETH Sign is basically like a Web3 enabled version of DocuSign. So one of the things that I thought would be pretty fabulous, and this might be scope creep, and this is one of the things that we need to decide if we want to potentially do or not, but I think it's really aligned, because when you think about what we're looking to do here, where we're looking to onboard members into an organization, the opportunity, like with DUNADAO, one of the things that we're wanting to create is our governing principles, because we're basically going to be having people on board as a member. And the core document that we use to form a DUNA in Wyoming is a governing principles. And similarly with Gigs Go Green, where we're looking to onboard members into Tesla Black DAO, there's going to be a operating agreement for the DAO LLC. So the opportunity to get people acclimated to the core governing document of the organization, and then basically use their newly created wallet to sign their agreement to the organizing document, I think makes a lot of sense. But did you want to chime in? Any thoughts on this idea? Anybody? Has anybody else heard of ETH sign or sign protocol?
No, it's my first time. I'm gonna have to do my research about it and see how it looks and what it is. Is this protocol from Base too as well, right?
No, so this is something, and let me open up this in Farcaster here, Warpcast. So ETH sign is, let me just do a real quick search for ETH sign. So ethsign.xyz, sign, certify, and execute. And I saw Tyler gave a thumbs up on this. So it, like I said, it's mostly a Web3 app that's like DocuSign, but instead of signing it, and it's a decentralized version of, and the document would be on like IPFS and stuff like that. So, and it looks like, going back to the bounty here, they're awarding 10,000 USDC to 3 projects. So this would be, 3 and 333 ran out there. So it's a good amount for something that we probably should do anyway. And that's kind of one of the ways that I like to look through the lens of consideration, especially for some of these side bounties, is this something that we really would want to implement within our onboarding process? And I would absolutely agree that this is something that I would like to see implemented within our onboarding process. Now, again, it's not the most important thing, but the opportunity to really put forward, and instead of like just having a pop-up, like, hey, here's our governing principles, do you agree? This just adds on-chain attestation with signed protocol that they, went through and agreed to the document and basically did their digital signature for it. So,
oh, that's a great tool. I just came out with the idea. This is something that I could use every time that there is some developers that probably don't want to sign something like legal, and I can use this tool, and it will be like a no-disclosing agreement or whatever contracts terms we have. I guess this tool would be good for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the reasons that a lot of these project creators put up the bounty that they do, is just to get additional exposure to people such as ourselves that are building within the ecosystem. So anyway, moving down the list here, here's another one. This one wasn't on my radar until I was going through this. So Biconomy is a account abstraction infrastructure. And we saw there that one of the main goals of the Build-a-thon is to implement account abstraction. So taking a look at Biconomy and going to, let's see. So biconomy.io, and this is one that I would absolutely love to book a demo so that we could do a deeper dive. So this is one that we can decide on here at our next working group if we want to, because I don't know exactly what types of account abstraction frameworks, like the one that's Coinbase is doing is with smartwallet.dev. And whether it makes more sense, because I don't really know the pros and cons over like Biconomy versus Smart Wallet with Coinbase. And one of the things that zero cost smart wallet is free for both developers and users. I don't know if Biconomy is a no cost solution. Coinbase obviously has a lot of ways that they're monetizing their ecosystem where they might be able to offer this for free, and Biconomy might not. So again, I don't really know what the value proposition is, and this is something that I would fully expect that Biconomy would be able to provide in their demo as far as the pros and cons of their solution versus their account abstraction solution versus like Coinbase's smart wallet. So I don't know if anybody wanted to chime in. I know that you, Nick, have been looking quite a bit at the account abstraction. Have you heard of Biconomy before?
No, and I haven't used these higher level tools. Most of the things that we did is we actually were building a solution with account abstraction where we would store the private keys and the email addresses and manage the transactions for the users with Paymaster. So it was much lower level, almost building these technologies you're looking at. But it would be really, I think it would expedite our process to just, use these, of course. So this is, I need to look at them.
That's the whole goal is like, not reinvent the wheel where we don't have to. Plug and play. See, I'm all about plug and play. So, but yeah, this is another one that I would encourage everybody to do a deeper dive on. And like I said, we can collectively make a decision at our next working group if we want to book a demo, but we need to remember here, and just to put things into perspective, the build-a-thon concludes on June 30th, but Tyler and I are going to be really wanting to wrap this up on probably the 27th because we're going to be heading out of town that weekend. So getting a nice bow tie on our build-a-thon submissions by the 27th is kind of, which is literally two weeks from now. So 2 weeks is a good amount of time. We can get a lot of stuff done, especially working asynchronously between now. But the nice thing about some of these things is, we can, potentially like here where there's an additional economic incentive to explore Biconomy. And the nice thing is that we have no commitment if we want to, like if we find out that it's not working or whatever the case may be. And I think that there's actually another Biconomy bounty in here that I don't think that I included in the working group. But moving on here. So this was another one that was interesting that I'm going to bring up and talk about here. So I know that Nick and I have had a good amount of conversations surrounding an AI opportunity and Flock, which is federated learning plus blockchain. And let me go to, or I should just open up a new tab here to go to flock.io. So federated machine learning on the blockchain. So one of the use cases that we're wanting to use AI, and I don't know if it really makes sense to look at potentially implementing anything within this right now, because the main thing that we're wanting to do again with our build-a-thon is to create a member onboarding experience and document the user journey. And this may be a little bit in the category of scope creep, but it may be a solid tool for us to use, because one of the use cases that I would really love to see us implement is we're positioning Tesla Black as the most profitable community for Uber and Lyft drivers, and the ability to use AI to substantiate that unequivocally with data that we collect from users within our ecosystem makes a lot of sense. And then the opportunity to just show what that looks like over time to really, again, substantiate with undeniable evidence that we're creating the most profitable community for our members that are participating in Tesla Black. So have you heard of flock.io before, Nick?
No, I love this idea though. I want to check this out a little more.
Yeah, and I love this idea myself on the local data, and that's kind of what federated means. And this is, again, one of the things I love about hackathons is the opportunity to explore some of this technology. So I'm starting to get Windows scope creep here. So I'm going to close some of these windows down. So we talked about the Biconomy account abstraction. Close this out. I just talked about the AI with Flock. So moving down the list, the other one that I put was, and this is probably more in the interesting Ethereum attestation service is like one of the things that we're going to be doing tomorrow is hosting a tools working group for HATS protocol, and there's some opportunity with the Unlock protocol certification that it currently isn't implementing Ethereum attestation service. And one of the things that just kind of plant a seed here with one of the domains that I registered, kind of in line with the thoughts around DUNADAO, is to create some sort of attestation service. And like whether we as DUNADAO.org attests that they have some DUNA compliance or whatever. And I don't know what that will look like, but this is kind of like probably more on the roadmap, and I would say probably more in the scope creep category, but it is something that I did want to put forward as something that we can think about in the future. Again, I don't know if it necessarily makes sense for implementing within our build-a-thon here. So this is, let me open this one here. So DecentDAO.org is anteing up 5,000 USDC. I didn't really get to dive into the docs, but let me just go here to DecentDAO.org. So let's see if they have their FAQ, which is probably their docs page. So what is Decent? Decent is the most composable DAO app and framework. Users can form complex parent-child safe hierarchies and govern in whatever structure suits their needs. This extends existing safe wallets, which is the leading multi-sig with no-code capabilities of multiple governance options, executive powers between child safes, as well as templating functionality to fast-track day-to-day operations. So this is probably, again, outside of the scope of initial implementation for what we're doing, since we're just basically a fledgling startup in pre-launch mode for DUNADAO and Gigs to Go Green. Where this starts to make a lot more sense is where you have organizational groups, like whether it's a content team or, you know, a biz dev team or a social media team that maybe have their own operating budget and the opportunity to more streamline that. And that's one of the things that we'll be looking at tomorrow a little bit with HATS protocol. And I don't know how much that this kind of overlaps there with HATS protocol, but I do know that HATS is continuing to gain momentum within the ecosystem. So again, I tried with the list of these to kind of prioritize the thoughts on the implementation. And the last one that I want to talk about, since we are building on our member NFTs using Unlock protocol, and I don't know if this one necessarily makes sense. This is one that I was wanting to have some conversations with for Colorado blockchain. And this is something that Tyler and I had a little bit of conversation with about potentially doing a Taco Tuesday as a pre-launch for Colorado blockchain, like that last week of June. But if anybody wants to think of some creative ways that we could potentially incorporate a taco theme with what we're doing with DUNADAO or Gigs Go Green, or the opportunity, like I said, we could, Tyler and I have already had some side conversations with that. So it's a pretty long list. And again, I would encourage everybody to go through and take a look at the entire list of on bountycaster.xyz on-chain summer to see if there was something that I missed. It's a pretty long list, but like when you look at some of these opportunities, you know, getting a couple grand here or there is just some additional opportunity, because the nice thing about these community tracks is that you know, it might be something that makes sense to do anyway, especially like with the signed protocol, which is why that I bumped it up here to the top of the list. And then account abstraction is obviously something that we need to implement. So anyway, does anybody want to chime in on what we just went through? Is a lot of stuff in a short period of time there.
No, everything is looking good. I'm excited to play with all these tools, and I see the benefits of using the tool for the e-sign, like document sign, the bounties that you have here, the bounty caster and all that. It's just, for anyone who never been exposed to Web3, this is a really good place to start, because it doesn't require any experience, any knowledge. It's just a matter of trying and clicking here, clicking there. Most of the time, just clicking here, click there. Now you have a full enterprise on a decentralized environment. Simple as that. Thank you, Jason.
Oh, I see that there was one that I missed here, just perusing through. Best use of the graph on Base. So let me take a look here. And again, I don't know if this really makes sense, but it was something that was interesting enough that I added it. So let's see, the graph.com. So this is another way to visualize on-chain data from the looks of it. So Web3 powered by subgraphs. And like I said, this was more in the interesting category. And I don't know if it makes sense right now because we're just barely starting to collect some data, but it was the one that I thought was interesting enough to include. So like we're going to be having already talked about some use cases around data. And one of the things that we're going to be, as we are putting a lot of our stuff, transactions and stuff like that, the opportunity to visualize data on chain is very, very interesting. So that's kind of what I thought that this is a visualization tool for showing on-chain data. But again, this is probably more in the, I would say, scope creep, because I think if we get the onboarding experience really nicely polished, I will feel extremely satisfied with us getting that done in the next 2 weeks, because that's one of the nice things that I love about time-sensitive things, is that it really creates an economic incentive for a rubber meets the road type of dynamic, if you will. All right, so taking a look here, we spent a good amount of time, as I thought that we would, going through the Build-a-thon links. So I had this time for discussion. So how's everybody feeling about the hackathon, the Build-a-thon right now?
Great. That's good to know that we always have something to look forward. That's the most important thing. And that's the place where a lot of people get stuck. They don't have a place to go when it comes to improving your life. And in here, because everything is so new, there is always something to research. There's always something to look forward. And not just that you find people like you, Jason, Taylor, Nick, myself, who are willing to innovate and learn these new tools. And the emotion, just the feeling to know that you are one of the first ones, even though this technology has been there for quite a few years. And myself, which I've been in IT for almost 20 years, it's my first time being exposed so obvious like this with DAOs and all this, which I love it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. So go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, I was just going to say there's a lot here to tackle, so it feels like we've got a lot to do. But like you were saying, I think the things that'll really help us is not reinventing the wheel, just using these tools instead of trying to build them, put them together in a way that we can put together a solution and make use of the things, the check boxes we have to hit to, one, we're going to get the functionality and the features we need to move forward on our projects, but also, we can help accomplish what these build-a-thons want. And by doing that, hey, we can grab some extra dough. So I think that all lines up and sounds good. Win-wins all around.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the nice thing about like when we really look through the lens of using like Lego blocks as far as from a composability standpoint. If we find a better Lego block that fits in, whether it's the account abstraction piece, or like right now we're talking about building our backend with WordPress. And part of the reason that looking to do that is just to simplify things right now, because and one of the things too is that we're building a pretty complicated DAO ecosystem here, and the ease of having a single WordPress backend for our entire DAO ecosystem. Because like me personally, I'm planning to be an on-chain ambassador across our entire DAO ecosystem. And one of the other reasons that using WordPress plus WooCommerce is that I already have experience with the working plugin that is compatible with WordPress multi-site and WooCommerce to facilitate our two-tier affiliate program. And I really think that the on-chain ambassadors is going to be a secret sauce for creating explosive, incentivized organic growth through our two-tier affiliate program. But speaking of build-a-thon and hackathons, one of the other opportunities that is something that we've submitted for in the past and will continue to submit for is grants and the opportunity to, and Charmverse. Charmverse is a tool that we're using here at community.dunadao.org. But anyway, this is something that Charmverse that they found is getting a lot of value. So this is something that I'd encourage, and I'll link this up here on that, but like Web3 grants, so Base, and I'm not sure, I don't know if this is just a table. Let's see. So we're also building on the super chain, the OP stack within Ethereum too. So that's worthwhile. So let me take a look at the open for applications real quick. I don't know if there was any that, this is one that I did want to bring up too for consideration. So let me take a look at real quick on the timelines. So this is one that we've got that we may want to consider. Push is at push.org, and they're really working on being like a communications protocol of Web3. So this is one that I think that we should explore, and I think that we have time to explore this here after when I'm looking at the deadline for season 1. So I think that this is something that we can pick up. But this is one of the conversations that I've had, side conversations with Tyler about, is the opportunity to use some of these bleeding edge tools for notification and for communication. Because let's be honest, there's a lot of noise surrounding email. So the opportunity to create a fresh type of communications methodology is a very real opportunity. And speaking of noise, I mean, that's one of the things that we're looking to implement with Paragraph, which is basically like a Web3 enabled blog / newsletter. So it's probably most similar to Substack, but this one is Web3 enabled. And this is one that we're wanting to utilize to get better at creating written content in. So that's something that I'll probably get set up between now and our next pre-launch conversation. I think I already set it up a little bit, but what the opportunity to take the AI written content, like the transcript from our working groups, and then create some written content just from an SEO standpoint and stuff like that. So anyway, going back here to our next actions, the biggest thing is adding your availability to the Let Us Meet so that we can get that scheduled between now and I've got the Let Us Meet here for Saturday, Sunday, or Monday. So whatever people put on their availability, we'll get that scheduled. And I'd really like to get this scheduled. So I'll say by tomorrow afternoon or evening. So please add your availability to that. But anyway, I think that most of this was just kind of reviewing and setting a baseline for the base build-a-thon so that we can kind of get all of our thoughts together. I've got the get registered as team and individuals, and I'll send people a link to register when I get the team. I think there's like an invite code or something like that for the build-a-thon, and I think there's a small pledge or something like that of like 0.002 ETH, which I think is like $6. So that was something that they created, I think, to kind of as a civil resistance type of thing where people have a little bit of a skin in the game component so that they don't just have a bunch of people registering and then not actually submitting a project for the build-a-thon. Anyway, any final thoughts here before we bring this to a wrap today from anybody?
I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah, nothing here.
All right. Well, looking forward to building here. This is one of the fun things about the Web3 ecosystem is that there's a lot of economic incentives for building cool shit on chain. And then the big value proposition is just making it substantially easier to get more people on chain. And I think that that's the big takeaway that Base is really wanting to see here with the Onchain Summer second round. They did their first one last year, and Base is on fire, and I'm looking forward to building on Base.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks everybody, and we've got our tools working group tomorrow from 3 to 4 Mountain Time. So hopefully people will be back on that. That's should be an absolutely fabulous conversation. Not related to the build-a-thon, but still a solid foundational piece for our ecosystem at large. But everybody have a great rest of your Thursday.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good one. Bye.